Color me poetry, part one. Color me the man that cried I am, and that would be my eternal flame. Color me poetry, for nobody knows my name. I am the middle passage in Arthur. You are me, and I am you. We wear the mask of America, something old, something new. For I am poetry. I am the living experience. I am the lifelong proof. Color me the poetry of nothing but the truth. Color me a love child lost in the promised land. I am a poem for black hearts going to meet the man. I am not to be sold nor bought, so color me a scholar in the school of thought. For I am poetry. Color me the rose and the thorn. I am the timeless hopes of dreams yet unborn. I am for my people, a portrait of pride. Color me the Negro who speaks of rivers deep down inside. For I am poetry. Let us lift every voice of black and unknown bots of long ago. Color me a song in spite of myself that all the world might know. Color me poetry, for I am poetry. Hi, I'm Poet Danny Queen. Welcome to a new exciting edition of Color Me Poetry. 2020 is here, and we're going to do what we do for all it's worth. I'd like to welcome my guest, our brother Senghor Bay. Brother, I've known you for many years.
Yes, sir.
You've been in the struggle for a long time, man.
Being here with you too, Dan.
Yes, brother.
And that was a powerful poem, man.
Thank you, brother. That's part one. We're gonna do part two on the way out.
All
but
right.
brother, look, let's get into it now. You've been associated with the UNIA.
Right, UNIA ACL. Yes, sir.
Yes. Let's tell us about that.
Well, almost 40 years I've been associated,
Wow.
but I was in the movement prior to joining the UNIA. But when I was discovered Malcolm X, I read the autobiography, years ago. I kind of got involved. My family came from.
How old were you then?
Well, actually, I was in my high school years, so I was
Oh,
16
wow.
going on 17. But the thing is, I really found that Malcolm found Garvey. And Malcolm's family was all into Garvey. So I was all into Garvey, but I had no idea that the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League was still alive.
Oh, you didn't even know that.
No. So in 1979, a brother who's an ancestor who I talk about in this book, and it's really based around ancestors in the whirlwind, Hodari Ali. I was on his show. I heard his show Freedom Sounds, and the Honorable Charles L. James.
On WPFW.
Yes, sir.
Let's
The
talk
Honorable
about it.
Charles L. James,
Yes.
who was then the President General of the UNIA, who studied under Marcus Garvey. I talk a lot about him in the book too, because he was my teacher, my guide with coming into Garveyism. Well, he came and spoke. And Brother Oduno Tariq, who had, along with Jackson Bay, who had their own history club, he was a co-host to Hodari Ali. So that's what I talk about in our book, in my book, is how I discovered the living legacy of Garvey. And hearing Honorable Charles L. James was almost like I was hearing Garvey. I mean, it didn't take me long after that to call up Jackson Bay and get involved.
It's interesting you said that, because my first book back in the 80s was attributed to, well, first of all, I was in the Nation, and I went to hear the brother minister over in Baltimore, and he was talking about the Honorable Marcus Garvey, and I was trying to think, what was I going to call my new book? And he talked about how the Honorable Marcus Garvey said another black mother would give birth to another child. He said, my spirit will be in that child. He said, look for me in the whirlwind. And that thing got me right there, boy.
Yeah.
And I said, Lord have mercy. It hit me. I was on the post. I said, woo.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. That thing hit me. And I said, that's the name of my book, Wings of the Whirlwind.
Yes, well, that particular terminology, just like what you said, is very moving. But as I grew older, studying under the elders, I understood the whirlwind meant our ancestors were very much alive in the spirit world.
Yes.
And that their works, words, and deeds, the many of them, that we need to follow and emulate so we can get back on track to our traditional greatness.
Yes.
And a lot of times we get caught in the cult of the individual, opposed to the works.
The work that must be done, yes.
Because Garvey gave his whole entire life to putting us on track.
Yes.
And so my book is dedicated to my whirlwind experience of working with so many different president generals after Garvey and meeting people who knew Garvey.
Well, what was that like?
Oh, it's powerful. That's why I had
People
to
who
do.
actually knew Garvey.
Yes.
Now, I remember meeting his son, Garvey Jr.
All right. Well, Garvey Jr.
At Roots.
served as President General for about 12 years, okay? And I served as third Assistant President General under him and District Commissioner of Maryland, Virginia, and D.C. But the sons really didn't get to know their father that well because they were born in 1930, Garvey Jr. was, and Dr. Julius Garvey, who's still around doing a lot of work right now. Both of them are still living.
Now, is he the youngest?
Yes, he
Dr.
was born in 1933. And Dr. Julius Garvey is still on the move. Unfortunately, Honorable Marcus Garvey Jr. has been suffering from Alzheimer's for some time, and so he doesn't speak and things like that. But he's still living and lives in Florida, being cared for by his wife. However, Honorable Charles L. James and Thomas W. Harvey, who I didn't get a chance to meet, but a lot of people work with Harvey, but I met James. They actually studied under Garvey. And many people in the UNIA knew Garvey when I came in. I came in 1980, late 1979, 1980. And so my book talks about my Garveyites whirlwind journey from 1980 to 2016. That does not mean my whirlwind journey is not still continuing. We'll still get into that.
It's ongoing.
Because I was also in the movement prior to joining the UNIA. And then one thing people need to understand, the UNIA's obligation is to work for every melanated African on the planet, north, south, east, and west of the world.
And one thing I must say is that the UNIA didn't focus on religion. It focused on culture.
Yeah, but spirituality. It says one God, one aim, one destiny. Understand
right.
that African people started all religions. However, we said let no religious scruples and no political machinations divide us. Now, that's not to say that we don't welcome religious people and we don't welcome different political ideologies. However, we understood, and Garvey understood as he studied, because he was as a young man, he studied and read a lot of books.
He read a lot,
because his father had a humongous library. He understood that there were things that the Eurocentric world did to taint our ancient religions. Whether or not it's traditional, whether or not it's Christianity, Islam, or Buddhism, it's a reality that all of those prophets and messiahs and leaders and prophets who brought those religions were very sincere. But however, man has become, and this is another Garveyite thing that I learned, man had become a disagreeable beast. So that means man had used various different things to empower his own self. And that's a lot that you'll see in my book too. And that's a mistake that a lot of we have made, because the Creator made no mistakes. So we welcome our religions, but we're not a religious movement.
But I love that Marcus Garvey's, I love his phrase, I love his motto. One aim,
one God, one aim, and one destiny.
Yeah, that's what got me, man.
Yes.
I'm like, wow.
Yes.
Ooh.
That one, and Africa for the Africans, those at home, those abroad. See, one of the things that the mistakes that a lot of our, and this is very important for the younger people, Garvey didn't do anything by himself. Garvey had a lot of race-first men and women around him all the way back in 1914 when he established the UNIA. But when he came to the United States, he discovered something very interesting in the States, and he ended up staying, and he came in March of 2016. So the interesting thing is there were so many brothers and sisters, names known and unknown, who were very instrumental in building the Universal Negro Improvement Association.
But the Garveyite movement started in Harlem.
Actually it started in Jamaica.
Okay.
It started in Jamaica in 1914.
And then it went to Panama?
Actually what happened, Garvey came to the United States looking for Booker T. Washington.
When he got here.
But Booker T. Washington had transitioned. But a lot of people make a mistake about Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was a Pan-Africanist. And it's proof. There's a lot of proof of that. Even though he was a great educator. And he had a great relationship. And people don't understand how he dealt with the Eurocentric world. But Garvey and many other Africans, even on the continent, were inspired by the works that Tuskegee did when he was sent to Tuskegee to build Tuskegee.
And that's why he came here.
Exactly. Garvey came because he wanted to take the same concept back to Jamaica and to establish industrial growth and development for African people. However, Booker T had transitioned a little before the time Garvey came, but Garvey still met with the people in Tuskegee. But in New York, he got an eye-opening of the potential black people had. Now, don't get me wrong, we were just out of the Jim Crow era, but black people were a lot better off in the United States than they were anywhere else in the world. So Garvey had done some traveling. So he has seen us, build and through the United Fruit Company, et cetera, et cetera. He spent time in the UK.
Now, this is long before the Black Star Line and all of that.
Oh, absolutely. The Black Star Line came around in 1918, 1919, when he established the Black Star Line, which is probably one of the greatest things that the UNIA was able to manifest. However, they had the Negro factories. They had a lot of corporations. That's when you got the ACL, the African Communities League.
And of course, the membership was...
Well, the key thing about the membership, people say Amos Wilson, Dr. Clark, everybody has said he was 6 to 11 million members. However, we don't know the actual facts of those who pay dues.
Right.
Because, like I said, all Africans are members, but those who pay dues are those who are committed to the upkeep of the government to serve the masses.
Okay.
Throughout the years, some of our people have gotten confused. UNIA is a movement of movements. It's not just one central movement. And you know, the Rastafari movement, of course, the Nation of Islam, all of them have aspects of Garveyism, as we call it.
That's true.
And
I
that's a
believe
good
that.
thing. And there are many organizations even around the world that a
branched
lot
off.
of people don't know. Well, yes, and then also Garvey was inspired by the Haiti movement and a lot of things that he saw. So what we have to understand is Africans have always been in resistance since the transatlantic slave trade. So a lot of time we talk too much about the lack of resistance, but we had resistance.
There's always resistance.
Exactly.
From the beginning.
And
day one.
and a lot of people like Garvey learned from that resistance. Because everywhere he went, he said, well, where's the black man's government? Where's his men of big affairs?
That's what
Where,
he said.
you know, and he said, if I can't find them, then I have to help make them.
It changed my life, brother, when I read the philosophies and opinions of Michael Garvey. You know, I remember a little book like that I got from Brother Hadari at the Pyramid, a little small book like that, called the Writings and the Sayings of Marcus Garvey.
Sure, I know the book you're talking
I
about.
love
So
that
you know
book.
the thing about the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, it was just a combined of his papers.
Right.
That thanks
Yes,
to Amy Jocks Garvey.
His wife.
Amy Jocks
Now,
Garvey.
both his wives were named Amy. Which,
Well, Amy Ashwood was his first wife, who
Okay.
was one of the founding members, the first 13 members in Jamaica. And unfortunately, he annulled the marriage because of a lot of things, which I won't get into
Yes.
in detail, but you can read about it.
Yes.
Dr. Tony Martin has documented. And
He's
Amy,
a scholar on
Amy
Marcus
Jocks
Garvey.
Garvey was also in the UNIA, and she became his wife. They
The second
married,
wife.
and she became also his executive secretary. So she is the one that compiled the philosophy and opinions.
Oh, okay.
Garvey was in the penitentiary
At that time.
when the philosophy and opinions were released. And so we have to give credit to Amy Jocks Garvey for aiding and assisting. Now, Amy Ashwood Garvey was also a Pan-Africanist and went on and did a lot of things before she transitioned in the 60s. Both of the Amy's transitioned in the 60s. Unfortunately, Garvey left us in 1940.
Did they know each other?
Yes, they did.
Oh,
they both
they
came
did.
from Jamaica. Yes, they did. Amy Jocks was a more womanist, feminist kind of energy,
Now-
but go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go
But
ahead.
Amy Jocks Garvey was also a womanist, but Amy Jocks Garvey was much more focused on institutional building the UNIA. Not to say Amy Ashwood wasn't. Amy Ashwood went on to become a Pan-Africanist and ended up being a part of a lot of Africans on the continent and all over the world. And she had a cafe in the UK where a lot of Pan-Africanists frequented.
Yeah.
So, and then things didn't fare well between Garvey, Amy Ashwood, and Amy Jocks all throughout, because Amy Ashwood never wanted to relinquish the marriage. But like I said, I'm not going to get into all the things, but Garvey understood that he needed a woman that was going to be by his side and was going to be loyal to him and not have, all other kinds of other stuff going on, from alcohol to affairs, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
However, Amy Ashwood and Amy Jocks Garvey were giants.
In the movement.
And Amy Jocks Garvey is the mother of Marcus Garvey Jr. and Dr. Julius Garvey.
Oh, now that's the first wife?
No, the second wife.
Second wife. Okay. So he didn't have kids by the first wife?
No,
Okay.
no, they never had any children. In fact, they weren't together that long. And
Yes.
as
From my
husband and
readings,
wife.
I remember that. Yeah.
Not at all. They weren't together long. They traveled to Canada, and Amy Jocks was traveling with him and a couple other people, and there were some things that happened, and Garvey moved to annul the marriage.
So knowing about, and from 17 years old, being in school, that helped to change your life?
Oh, absolutely. Well, see,
Yeah.
well, let me back up. Even before I got to Bell Vocational High School, my stepfather, who was still related to the Underground Railroad Still family and the Saltwater Taffy, he took me to the March on Washington in 1963. That changed my life.
Wow.
I did go through some crazy things in the street. However, what stuck with me was that black people needed to do better to raise themselves up. So I did a lot of reading. And so bottom line, after being inspired by Dr. King, because Dr. King was a tremendous orator.
Yes.
And his spirit stuck with me forever. So then I found out about Malcolm, and then of course I came to know Garvey. And I saw the similarities in all of them.
And the different movements.
As well as I saw the similarities in the native, the Indian, the so-called Haudenosaunee, the Indian movement of North America. And I say that because when I joined the UNIA, I made it clear that I knew my ancestry and I knew some of my so-called Cherokee, but they were, of course, Indians, we say sometimes people say we got Indian blood. I don't agree with that. Indians got African blood. You know, everybody got African blood. That's the real.
That's where it started. Anyway.
All human beings come from us.
One blood.
So, in learning all of that, I was inspired when I met Brother William Henry Jackson Bey.
Okay.
Who's an ancestor. Brother Jackson Bey taught me about Moorish science. He taught me about so many different things. And then I found out how Noble Drew Ali held up Marcus Garvey. I found out a little more about the Rastafari movement, how that was established.
And how they all connect.
I found out about the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I studied Islam.
Yeah.
And so I was able to see the similarities. And I had a great deal of respect for all of those leaders, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, because all of them, despite their minor differences, had more in common. Particularly Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey. But we can't leave out W.B. Du Bois. Sometimes people attack W.B. because W.B. had fell out with Booker T and Garvey. But I say we need to, while they're ancestors, we need to evoke their goodness. Because we can't go back and change the shortcomings of what happened. And the same thing with today. You know, it's okay for us to disagree, but we can't afford to be disagreeable with children crying and dying.
Well, now people are going to disagree. I mean,
of course, all the time. Why husband and wife do?
All the time.
I mean, but you have to learn not to be disagreeable to the extent that you do bodily harm to each other or you become abusive.
Dr. King didn't want anything different from what Malcolm or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted.
Absolutely.
There are different methods of getting to it.
Absolutely. And so, not only that, I believe they all left here at a young age. Garvey left at 53. King and Malcolm 53. Didn't get out of their 30s. And I believe if they had lived to the age of 68 where I'm at, they all would have come together. Because they were all dedicated to the uplifting of our people and willing to sacrifice their lives. Each one of them sacrifices their lives.
And don't forget also Medgar Evers.
Absolutely. Medgar Evers and Patrice Lumumba. I mean, we could go across the water. I mean, Kwame Nkrumah, who incubated with the UNI. Plenty of the sisters. Nanny Helen Burroughs was the race first woman.
Ella Baker, all those people.
That's the point of the book, is our ancestors are waiting and watching. Due to our own apathy, children are crying and dying. So we can't be apathetic and not, take what our ancestors did and do better.
Yeah, so let's talk about the book. How did the book come about?
Well, throughout my work, I'm always a pet peeve. Jackson Bey taught me.
Let's see if we can get a shot of that book.
Jackson Bey taught me to always write down stuff. So I used to do a lot of documentation. I used to do take all of my notes from the UNIA. So as time progressed, I had compiled some information. However, serving as President General for 8 years, and understanding that leadership means pain, blood, and death. It don't mean a Mercedes-Benz and a big paycheck and air conditioning, which some people tend to think from the European side, you should be an obedient servant. So learning that and coming up the ranks, because I was never aspiring to be a leader in the UNIA, and happened to serve as President General. So I feel I owe an obligation to the ancestors who are no longer with us, like Farouk Muhammad, Kamal Robinson, who was at Roots,
on and on.
Brother Jackson Bey, Brother Baba Rafo Karomako, Kalonji Alushagoon, Chris Crowder. It's a whole slew. So I talk about all of them in here. So this is sort of like dedicated to young people to
so
see
they can learn
part of my story. Because I've been to Brazil, I've been to Africa, I've been to the UK, I've been to Canada, I've been all over the Caribbean, and I've seen Garveyite in different form, fashions, and shape as a member, as well as a leader in the movement. And holding the seat of President General after serving with 5 different other President Generals was an honor. And even to this day, I'm still working with a lot of brothers and sisters who are very, very much.
So let me ask you this about the book. What was the process for you?
Well, what I did after 2016 is when I stopped serving as President General. I started compiling information. So I talked to my brother Zamakook, and we're going to self-publish. So we created Blacktricity Press.
Blacktricity. Okay.
Blacktricity Press, and I'll talk about Blacktricity because that's a very important term.
Black electricity, y'all.
Exactly, and it's serious because Blacktricity is the cradle of civilization of all life, and that comes from the Most High. But anyway, so none of us own it. I always say it's not about me, he or she. It's about we collectivity. So I said I had to do this in order to move on to do other work, so that people understood. Now this talks about the good, bad, and the ugly, but it doesn't talk about the bad in a negative way. And it's not to beat up on anybody.
It's a learning process.
Right, because we don't want young people in the 21st century making the same mistakes.
Yes.
They're going to have enough to do themselves to move through all of this confusion and discontent in a drunk world, because this world is drunk. And as you know, the news today,
drunk and high.
Australia's burning, they're dropping bombs. They just killed a major leader in Iran, which is going to have repercussions all over the world. Both of them. Yes. And so I felt that this book needed to be done in order for me to be comfortable doing other work. And I felt I owed it to the ancestors. So my process was to...
The ancestors were with you.
Yes. Yes, they helped me. Yes.
And
what I did was document, because here on the front of the cover I have, Marcus Garvey Jr. is still living, but Dr. Tony Martin, who we consider the leading historian.
Yes.
I learned so much from him.
Still with us.
No, he's not. He's an ancestor.
Oh, when did he pass?
Oh, he left us in 2017.
Okay. It hasn't been that
long.
A
little before that. No, it's been it hasn't been that long, but he left us around then. And pardon me,
I
say it in my book, but the dates, one of the things that always bothered me about these people is, to me, they haven't really left us spiritually.
Yes.
And so I studied under Tony.
We don't believe in that.
And Tony did more books on Marcus Garvey than anybody. He's
so
he's
a leading scholar on Marcus Garvey.
And my teacher appointed him as the official historian
for Marcus Garvey
of the UNIA-ACL, because he did a book in 1976 called Race First.
I remember that.
And that talks about the ideological problems, shortcomings, pluses and positives. And so I learned a lot from Dr. Tony Martin, as I did from a lot of other folks.
Well, I learned from him that when he said Marcus Garvey was a race man.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he
said.
So
one main thing I learned from Tony, and I know we both long-winded because I'm a poet too, but Tony Martin actually proved to us that in 1920 the government was established. Now a lot of people have these concepts of black and white governments that are corrupt. The UNIA government is a theocratic government and it's in exile. However, Tony Martin proved to us that there were even white governments that recognized the UNIA government, and still to this day the UNIA-ACL is an unincorporated entity, because it doesn't come under any other government. So it has its sovereign status.
So what I'd like you to do, if you're willing to, is to share a reading for us.
Well, yes, I will. And what I'd like to do
Anything you'd like to share.
Well, I'd like to share what my queen wrote about in the foreword. Runoko Rashidi blessed me with a
He's
piece.
Been here too.
But and that's my brother. That's my brother. He's in he's with us. But I'd like to read what my queen wrote.
Okay.
Because sometimes, I don't want to, the book is about me, but it's also about others. So I said forward. By Kathy English Holtz. 17 years ago, I met Senghor on the dance floor. A friend and client, the late Farouk Muhammad, who hailed from Chi-Town along with others, decided to launch a Thursday night DC hand dance social for the conscious cultural community. Coming out of 25 years of marriage, I was not the least bit interested in a long-term romantic relationship, but a few dances later, a Kwanzaa celebration and a significant date led me on a path where I would embrace Senghor as my life partner. Before doing that, however, I did my research. I called any and everyone might know a little bit about this brother, Dr. Amanifu Harvey, who also works with us, by the way, who lives in North Carolina, tenured professor. Another friend and client gave me his assessment, which has stuck: committed. Senghor has proven this over and over again. His commitment to his mission is only exceeded by his commitment to God and the ancestors. Family, friends, and community all come after his mission. Early in our relationship, he floored me with, "You are a queen and this is your palace. How may I serve you?" Romantic, right? Later I found out that was the case as long as I did not get in the way of his mission. What can I say? He had his priorities in place, and serving African people at home and abroad came first. Senghor means descendant of the ancestors, and he truly lives his name. His passion for sharing their work and preserving their legacy is palpable when you are in Senghor's presence. I have come to understand that often when he is taking something incessantly, it is not him, but coming through. He is merely their willing vessel, and I am more often than not humbled by what they have to say. One night, Nanny Helen Burroughs came up in a conversation we were having about significant female ancestors, but were often overlooked. I was very ill at the time and about to start a healing sabbatical in preparation for an extended stay in South Carolina. I went to a library and happened upon a book on Miss Burroughs, which forever changed my life. An educator, religious leader, organizer, and activist, Nanny Helen Burroughs' most significant work was founding a school for black girls at the turn of the 20th century. I can never thank Senghor enough for his assistance that I take the sabbatical funding it and encouraging me to develop the work with others now do with the girls in Washington, D.C. through our things, the Collard Greens Arts for Our Children. We have and are making a difference because of some pillow talk Senghor and I had one evening. We both have very strong personalities and are clear about who we are and what we desire. And in all these years, I am most impressed that I have never felt any sexist or misogynistic energy coming from this man. Of course, he knows I am always right, but occasionally he will test the waters to see if I will surrender to his will. And in doing this, he has taught me how to goddess him, for I know how much he deeply loves and respects women of all ages. I witnessed his loving care towards his mother during her last years. More than once, he canceled dates with me to tend to her. This assured me that if my day ever came that I would need that care, he would be there. My instincts proved me right, not only with me, but for all, not only that he loves, but that I love. Blessed assurance. It has not been an easy season watching this incredible spirit do his work as a servant to the people, like Marcus, Malcolm, and Martin, countless other leaders. He has taken the most criticism and been undermined by once by the very people he was elected to serve, and even those who held offices in the various divisions and parent body of the UNICL. I'm almost finished, Danny. Countless times he has chosen to give folks not 1, 2, or 3 chances, but 4, 5, and 6 chances to get it right. His love and empathy for his people and the understanding of the trauma and how it affects their psychic is his #1 reason. I have yet to meet a man who is as forgiving of those who stab him in the back as Senghor. I often think it was the open heart surgery he had at 14, which leads him to keep his heart open towards all no matter what. After winning an acrimonious election to President General of the UNICL, I shared with him that I had not signed up to be another Amy, Betty, or Coretta. However, although I never felt his life was threatened, I always knew there were people within the UNICL who did not mean him well. Their lies and ill intent hurt and angered me. However, he was always reminded me in one of his more infamous sayings, it's not about me, it's about we, collectivity. There's a quote I think of when I think of Senghor from A Course of Miracles: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Senghor's love for black people is real, and that can and never will be threatened, no matter what they say or do. He can take the attacks from wherever they may come, for Senghor is following the will of God and the ancestors. This gives him peace, and at the end of the day, Senghor is walking and talking Course in Miracles. It is my deepest honor to be his partner at this time in lives. Kathy English Hope, January 2019.
Why did you choose to share that?
Because she spent all the time with me. She also served as an ambassador of health and wellness of the United States.
That was your queen.
And so, but not only that, she's my friend.
Yeah.
She's my I consult her.
Yes.
And she also is the first person I went to ask if it would be all right with her if I would run for President General. And then I also, my ex-wife and all my children, I went to them. And, so I trust Kathy with my life. And I knew she saw some of the things that a lot of people may have missed. So that's why I asked her to do it.
But you know
forward.
she was going to be there for you.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
but I also knew she was going to speak truth to power. And the same thing with Runoko Rashidi. I knew he was going to speak truth to power because that's my man and I study his books.
Now,
and
how many kids?
Well, actually, I have 3 girls and 4 grandchildren. Kathy has 2 children, not by me, but I'm their step parent. So, and she has a grandchild. And now, so all of us are still family, extended family, and I actually befriended her and knew her ex-husband, who is now an ancestor, Brother Ibrahim, and I had a lot of respect for him and what they went through in their early marriage.
I want to share this piece, brother, tribute to the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. It's called "We Got to Get Up." When we believe in a dream come true, that's a scaffold to the sky for what we as a people can do. If we stand up for ourselves and build a mountain of trust, we can lean on each other's helping hand to do what we must.
Yes.
With a sense of purpose and self-esteem from the heart, there'll be no bad blood between us to keep us apart. There's nothing a positive sense of self cannot do when you know who you are and where you're going to. We got to get up.
Whoa! See, that's whirlwind talk. You see, because, and a lot of times, some of us are reliving some of our ancestors because our ancestors are not only waiting and watching, they're within us.
Yes.
And so we owe it to them.
Yes.
And one of the things that a lot of people tend to see today is now they want Garvey. Now
Yes.
they want King. Now they want Malcolm. Well, I tell all the young people, study them.
Yes.
And understand that those personalities gave everything. But there are a tremendous amount of others like Asa Hilliard, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr.
Yes,
Ben.
many.
Anna
And
Julia
I
Cooper.
knew Dr. Clark and Dr.
Yes.
I recorded their lectures
Yes,
for years.
yes.
Frances Cress Welsing.
Oh,
another
absolutely.
one.
And by the
Oh,
way, her
man.
book, Frances
Yeah.
Cress Welsing's new book, thanks to Brother Winbush, Ray Winbush, 3 of the people that are in that book were ambassadors under my administration in the
Oh,
UNIA.
really?
Dr. Tony Browder, Ambassador Komet, Runoko Rashidi, Traveling Ambassador, and Dr. Conrad Worrell, Ambassador of Reparations.
Oh,
and
wow.
they all have chapters in that book.
Oh, wow. And the book is called?
Nanny Helen Burroughs? Whose book?
No, the
My
new
book?
book on Dr. Welsing.
It's the book of tributes, new and selected poems by Danny Queen. That's his
Oh,
book.
okay.
Now, I see her on it. Now,
Yes, and
Dr.
the reason why I put her on it, because I worked with her. I
Right,
recorded her
and that's what I was going to
lectures for 30
say.
years,
Now,
yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have the exact name
Yeah.
of the book of
The Osiris
Ray Winbush.
Papers.
That's it.
The
But
Osiris
the
Papers.
point is, Dr. Welsing is forever in all our lives. All of
telling
us
you,
that
man.
knew her and
Not a
touched
day
her.
go by
And
I don't think
when I
about it.
read your book, I mean, that's why I was looking at your book, because the spirit is so strong. Dr.
Yeah.
Welsing is everywhere.
Yes.
In all of us. And also, I want to hail up a living sister, and that's Marimba Ani, who's also an
That's right.
ambassador
I know Sister
with
Marimba.
us under
Yes.
the administration that I had back in.
Now, I want to
Okay,
share this
yeah.
piece, and I want to get your reaction
Sure.
to it, because I call this my reparations piece. So the poem is simply entitled, Pay Me My Money. And that's not to say that reparations
I
need to
got
be,
you.
everything need to be wrapped up into money.
I got you,
But this gets people attention. Pay me my money. Just so you pay me all that I'm due. If you have to rob Peter to pay Paul, that's on you. I'm coming from all ends just to make ends meet. So I'm overworked, underpaid, and dead on my feet. Don't want to rain on nobody's parade, but I want what I need, and I'm trying to get paid. And if you don't have it, no, I won't try and understand. So pay me my money, all of my money, just as soon as you can. I can't help but to regret it, because sometimes it's gone before I get it. And if I had what's due to me, I could. So if I can't help but to regret it, because sometimes it's gone before I get it. If I had what's due to me, instead of just making do, I could pay Peter, Paul, and Mr. Bobo too. Don't mean to rain on nobody's parade, but I want what I need, and I'm trying to get paid. And if you don't have it, no, I won't try and understand. So pay me my money, all of my money, just as soon as you can. Pay me my money.
I love it. I love it. Let me say something. In fact, we need to keep the pressure on for external reparations. There's no question about
Yes.
it. But it comes in more forms than just money. However,
Yes, of
money,
course.
we've made the money of this country off our backs. So
Sweat
we'll
and
do
tears.
that. But we'll also do justice. We'll do proper social services, proper health care.
Yes.
And so we need internal repair. Internal reparations,
Yes.
which we don't have to go to Mr. Charlie or anybody outside. We got to go internally. See, because during the transatlantic slave trade that took place, a lot of us have lost track of our willpower, lost track of our ancestral DNA. As my brother Tony Browder says, we need to be memory recovery experts. So it's important to gain both internal and external repair.
The question was once active.
So I love that piece.
The question was once asked of Dr. John Henry Clark. Well, how many would you say were lost in the Middle Passage? He said, I'll start at 100 million and go from there. That's what Dr. Clark said, man, you know?
Well, a lot of times people only look at the millions that made it to these shores, opposed to the ones that died in the Middle Passage, and the ones that were captured there and
Right.
enslaved there.
Before.
And there were several opportunities for different people to come take Africans out of Africa. You know, there was an Arab thing that took place. And I mean, no offense to the African Muslims, but the non-African Muslims came into Africa and exploited Africa just like the Europeans did. And in fact, neocolonialism is still going on today, and many people are still exploiting the continent today. So that's why it's important for
You
us
know,
to know
I
where
like
we
to
come
pay
from.
tribute to our sisters.
Yes.
You know, because the sisters, man.
Well, it wouldn't be no UNIA here today if it wasn't for black women.
Yes.
I mean, they're the ones that carried it on and still carrying it on.
So this piece is simply entitled Chocolate City Candy for All the Sisters. Just a taste of you make my life so complete. Learning to love you is a special treat. The little loving things you do forever make you honey sweet. Your good and plenty loving just knocks me off my feet. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl, my M&M plain, Chocolate City Candy Girl. My lifetime lifesaver, Fifth Avenue, Lovers Lane Park. My butted fingered whatchamacallit, says sweetness in the dark. Now and later, you'll always be my Mary Jane, my baby Ruth, my mounds of almond joy. Chocolate, honey, sweet tooth. Let me be your payday, sugar daddy galore. Your 100 gram, Mr. Goodbar for sure. And when you turn on your total tipsy road charms, your chocolate cherry kisses make me melt in your arms. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl, my M&M plain, chocolate city, candy girl.
Wow.
For the sisters.
And I love that, brother, because I'm from Chocolate City, you know, and
that's what we used to call it, didn't we?
I'm telling you, brother.
And this other piece I'd like
Sure.
to share quickly, brother.
Sure.
It's a piece that talks about us as a people and what we must do and what we must continue to bonding about people so that we can move forward. So this piece is entitled Chocolate Rainbow, Shades of Black. White, black, brown, red, yellow, and tan, all shades of the rainbow come from the original man. The missing link to what we as a people lack is loving who we are in all shades of black. Mocha, sepia, sable, cinnamon, red, mocha, sepia, sable, red bone, cinnamon, mahogany, pearl, children of the sun, living in a color-struck world. Whatever shade of ebony to ivory you might be, black is black. I am you and you are me. You can't possess the soul essence of somebody else. So to love and know who you are is to be yourself. Beyond our shackles of sick, color-struck shame, as a people we all colored one and the same. The one-drop rule will always undervalue and demean the wannabes, the jigaboos, and every shade in between. Black on black love is so power validation. Despite our brown bag, blue vein indoctrination, intra-race prejudice, preference, and pride are reflections of a past that cannot be denied. As a human rainbow with the wind at our back, the power of self-respect comes in all shades of black. Honey brown, peanut butter, vanilla, chocolate, copper tone, nocturnal maple, cocoa maple, nocturnal rose, raven, brick house brownstone. Whatever shade of ebony to ivory you might be, black is black. I am you and you are me. From ruby red brown to a black walnut pecan, lemon strawberry peach to a beach sand colored tan. The missing link to what we as a people lack is loving who we are in all shades of black.
Wow. And you know, that reminds me of a poem Garvey wrote.
Oh, I love Garvey's poetry. I got a book of Garvey's
You know,
poetry,
the black
man.
woman? Oh,
Yes.
my goodness, Black Queen of Beauty that's
Yes.
giving color to the world.
I got a
That's
book like
powerful, though, what you just read, because what we need to do is to, as Garvey taught us in the course of African philosophy, reading makes a ready man and woman, but a writing man and woman makes an exact man and woman. And I'll break that down real quickly. If you read, you're helping feed your consciousness, particularly if you don't read trashy literature, you're reading something positive. And then if you write, you're writing to help raise somebody else's consciousness.
Yes.
And so you being a poet, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I come up on the Marcus Garvey and Francis Watson and people like that. Matter of fact, Dr. Watson used to always say all the time, and I recorded her saying it. She used to say, it's more important to read than to watch TV. And she'd make the whole audience say it all the time. She says it's more important to read than to watch TV. That's what she said.
Tell lie.
Yes.
Vision will
So
hurt
I
you.
thank God for the Honorable Francis Watson, and
Yes.
I thank God also, because she never ever spoke without mentioning Neely Fuller.
Yes.
So we honor
Oh,
that
no
brother,
question.
man.
Nellie Fuller, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because Neely, he's about 90 years old now.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
He's still sharp.
He's still mind sharp.
Yeah, well, you know, when I read the Crest Papers and when I first heard her talk about Neely Fuller, and then I got his book, of course, you know, commensurate to the code. But, you know, Frances Cress Welsing, not only did I get to read, I got to meet, I got to sit at her feet, you know, off the podium as well as while she was on the podium. And she was remarkable. Remarkable woman, because she always would take time out to explain to you. And then she could also speak truth to power against any white supremacist that she come across. And that was another big respect.
I'm thinking of
To
years
see a
ago when
black
she
woman
debated Shockley.
turned it out.
Kicked his
And so, you know, this sister, and you know, unfortunately, I believe they stressed her soul. You know, was the reason she left us as early as she did, because of the pressure that was on her. But she still always maintained a decorum about her when she was teaching. And that's a lot. You know, that's a lot to respect from a psychiatrist.
Yes, but she had degrees coming out yin yang. But let me tell you something. She was so down to earth.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
she was
Very
so-
humble sister.
And you had Doc had all these degrees coming out yin yang, but then you had Neely Fuller who had a degree in nothing. And they
No,
worked
right.
together.
Right.
That was just amazing.
Right.
To me.
Well, she,
That was
you know,
beautiful.
many of the early days of the UNIA, we worked with her. In fact, we're working with her sister still today, Lauren Presslove,
Yes.
who helps
I
establish
love Mama Love.
WPFW here. She's still active with the UNIA
Yes.
too. So, you know, it's very important. And, you know, they both hail out of Chicago. My teacher came out of Chicago, Honorable Charles L. James, and so many people come out of Chicago. Tony Browder.
Yes,
And you know, I love Chi-Town. The first time I went there was in '83. I talk about it in my book here. I talk about the Alkebulan, and I know time is of essence always, but I talk about the Alkebulan revivalist movement in the UK, which are part of the UNIA today. I talk about my journey to Senegal, my experiences that I had in Senegal. I didn't talk too much about my trip to Ghana because it happened in 2017.
Wow.
But the trip to the UK twice, I talked about in here, and also my trip to Senegal because I got a rude awakening of world.
What was that like?
Oh my gosh, Farouk Muhammad, Salim Hilton, my
Brother
wife,
Salim
all
went.
of us went on this trip, Zama, and man, we got a whirlwind experience. We go there to take Garveyism, and we go there and we ran into an elder who's an ancestor. I talk about Reverend Saunders, who actually built a school in the desert outside of what's the Senegal? Anyway, outside of the capital of Senegal, in the desert, he built his Marcus Garvey School and a Martin Luther King Clinic, and he got the help of Malofi Asante and Dr. Julius Garvey, and we met him there. He was there, and we took a trip there and met the children. I got pictures in the book that talk about that journey. We were blown away because they didn't even speak English. And here they go to the Marcus Garvey School, and they out there standing children waiting on us, and we were blown away. So I felt Garveyism there, and so it's because see what people got to recognize is our giant ancestors, not just Garvey.
Yes.
They have influenced so much. Go ahead.
Let me say also, blessed be the name of Dr. Asa Hilliard.
Oh, absolutely.
Giant.
Asa, no question. Asa Hilliard.
Yeah.
I've read
Dr.
a lot
Ben.
of his work. Dr. Yosef Ben Jochanan, John Jackson.
Yeah, John
I mean,
Jackson.
you
John
know,
Henry
there's so
Clark,
many.
all the
Dr. John
scholars,
Henry
yeah.
Clark, Amos
I
Wilson.
learned from Amos
I got
Wilson.
to talk to Amos
Learned from all
Wilson. You
these.
know, his book in Black Power.
Yes.
So all of those giants.
You know, I used to work with Tony Prada in the day, man.
Yeah.
And he used to bring all these scholars to town.
Oh,
They called me to
absolutely.
do the recording because I did audio recording. And that's how I come to do recording for Dr. Wilson for
Right.
30 years because Tony, Tony had me doing this. I
Yeah,
started doing it with
yeah.
John Ray, the Majestic Eagles on Rhode Island Avenue. Then I started doing it for Tony, and that started shortly after that, recording Dr. Wilson.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, that's the connection. See, because a lot of those ancestors we've mentioned and those people that are living are connected. And we want to make sure that the younger generation is connected. And that's one of my pet peeves with doing this book, is this is for young people to because we're making history right now. Right now, you and I are doing our story.
Yeah.
Because, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Because it's important for us to recognize the past, present, and the future,
yeah.
are connected.
It is indeed. Now, what you talk about, where can we get that book, bro?
Actually, you need to contact me via email right now. It's
Okay.
going to be available at Sankofa. It's going to be available at Natty's in Baltimore distribution.
Okay.
And you can pick it up from various different people that are selling it around the country. However, I would like for you to email me at Senghor B at hotmail.com. That's SENGHORB at hotmail.com. Or you can text or call me at 202-256-2518 and I'll get one out to you. Later on, we're going to put it up on Amazon and out there, electronic media this year. But I chose to go the underground route because I wanted a lot of the Garveyites to get a chance not only to read it, but to be able to sell it and profit from it in their own areas. And then I also wanted to distribute it myself, make my money back as a self-publisher. And now I'll kick it out there and let everybody else roll with it. But it's doing well. It only came out at the very end of August.
Oh, wow.
And already I've sold many. And I've given others the opportunity abroad as well. So I'm happy with how it's moving. I've already, made back my profit.
Yes.
And I took care of everybody that helped with the production of it. I want to thank Paula Coleman for editing. And I want to apologize for the little bit of edits that we missed because
that's all right. We got
But
it.
at the same token, Danny, I didn't write this book actually as a profit-making venture. I want to make profit. Who doesn't? Like we talked about earlier, we do. But I wrote it to make sure I got this off of me because I'm telling the story that I experienced.
And Lord knows you got so much in you, brother.
Right. Well, because of the work.
And your experience.
And being exactly, and I got a lot more to say. Like I got a book of poems I was telling you that I'm coming out.
You
with
better come on with
70s.
it. Stop playing.
You know, because that's how I got into it. And that's why I want to talk about the Blacktricity piece. I know we're coming up on the end.
Yes.
So it's very important. Blacktricity is a poem that I wrote in the 70s.
Oh man, you got to put.
But I've rewritten it 40, 50 times every time I redo it. But the concept, I studied and found out that Blacktricity comes from God Almighty, and it's very, very important for us to understand that's God's love in creating all life. But African people have more Blacktricity than anybody else.
You better believe it. Black Electricity. My latest book, of course, is the Book of Tributes, and my late mentor, Dr. Francis Cress Walson's on the cover. And you can call me 202-251-7743 or email me drq1227 at AOL. It's going to be on Amazon later on, but right now, like you said, I'm going to do all I have to do myself at this end. But it's in a lot of local stores where books are sold.
Now, I know you're interviewing me, but I've read some of that book. Brothers and sisters, you want to know about our great artists, cultural, political, and social activists. Danny got a poem in there about almost all of them. And it is awesome because we need to tribute to those people who've done the great works.
You know, sister told me that she said, you talk about everybody.
I love it.
That's a blessing. Brother, I thank you for coming and sharing. We're going to get you back here. We've been talking with Brother
Senghor Baye.
Senghor Baye.
Yeah, not Baye.
Baye.
I love Baye, don't get me wrong, because I know a lot of Bayes, but it's B-A-Y-E, it's Baye. It means straightforward.
Senghor Baye.
Yeah.
And his new book is entitled, give it the title, brother.
A Garveyite's Whirlwind Journey, 1980 to 2016.
Brother, we're looking forward to having you back here on
Oh, brother, I'd love to come back.
And let me say, man, I like what you got on, brother. That's beautiful, man.
Well, you know we got to give due to our black women. Y'all know what time it is.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's, oh, man. I seen you. That's what I told you. Take that coat off, brother. We got to show that.
Yeah, Danny. Thank you so much for having me here, Danny.
Anyway,
and thank your engineer.
Yes.
I want to thank him.
Thank you.
He's doing a
New
remarkable
engineer,
job.
Brother JW.
Hey, JW, appreciate
Thank you so much.
Yes,
I'm Danny Queen. This is Color Me Poetry. Until next time, Color Me Poetry. Love, peace, and poetry.
All right. Thank you, sir.